Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to lure to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And welcome to this week's weekly recap, where it might be one of our shorter ones, just because only 4 Batcats games, and the only other news that we really have is somewhat sparse. It's the announcement of a few more people that are going to be on staff. I put announcement in quotation marks. It was a video of new men's basketball staff members showing up, which, I mean, they're all from Belmont, and there's really only one spot remaining that we don't really know, which is, funnily enough, is the associate head coach. But the assistants that are following Casey Alexander from Belmont are J.J. Butler, Kerryon Johnson, who is he's the brother of Kerryon Johnson, the former running back for the Lions and the Eagles, who was one of my favorite players for like the 3 years that he was playing.
He was good.
He was good. And now he's a running backs coach at North Alabama, I think it is.
Such is the life of a running back, man. Be great for your first 3 years of a rookie deal and then get hit by age.
Immediately, yeah. Then Luke Smith, all 3 of those are just on the bench assistants. Lee Scott is the strength coach, and Brian Hayes is how I'm going to guess how it's said, as the director of analytics. What I will say is that Hayes, yes, he does indeed look like he would be a director of analytics. He's very typecast in that way. But, I mean, there's nothing too surprising about a guy bringing in a staff that worked for him and worked at a pretty high level at Belmont. So, I mean, I don't take issue with it. I will be curious to see who that sort of first chair is going to be, because that's the one, like the associate head coach is the one that hasn't been named. So I will be watching that with great interest, but this isn't like that. And again, you get in a situation where everyone wants to do the exact opposite of the last coach, where Jerome Tang kind of picked from a lot of different trees, where, you know, he brought Jareem Dowling from UNT, he brought Uric Malagi from UT, and then, was Carpenter at Baylor or was he at Louisiana at the time?
I can't remember. I think he had at least been at Baylor, and I know he had also been with Oklahoma on the football side, I think, for a year or so. But I can't remember where he was when we got him.
Yeah, the point still stands. It was a lot of different names from a lot of different places. And, you know, this is, in a lot of ways, the Casey Alexander hire. I know no one wants to talk about Jerome Tang. We don't really want to either. But this is a pretty much a direct response in every way to his tenure. So there it is, I guess. But if Belmont wasn't a good program or a consistent program where it was, I'd have a little bit more issue bringing in that staff. But given their consistency and the type of ball that Casey Alexander wants to play, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, like I get it for a guy like Casey Alexander, who is a very experienced head coach. Like, this isn't, like Jerome Tang, like, obviously, hindsight's 2020, but at the time he went around and utilized his pretty wide net of connections to get guys from all over. And that made sense for a first-time head coach, especially because given the weirdly tight-knit group that is the Baylor coaching community, as they keep calling themselves, he didn't want to really poach a lot of guys from Scott Drew's staff, which, absent like any other feelings about Jerome Tang and Scott Drew, I understand a mentee not wanting to do that to their mentor in a vacuum. Like, that just makes sense to me. But Casey Alexander, like, he's been a head coach for a while. He's been in the coaching game for a while. He's got way more head coaching experience than Jerome Tang. Not as much at this level, of course. In fact, he has none at this level. But he has a lot of experience as a head man, and he knows what he wants, and he has a system that has worked pretty well for him. And He's had this director of analytics for a few years now, and he's a very analytically driven coach, and he's got coaches that seem to buy into that message as well. So I get why he wants to keep some guys that he trusts around.
Yeah, and just hearing the words director of analytics brings a smile to my face, because it really does make me think that we might not just be playing vibes ball anymore, because that's kind of what the last, well, honestly, you could say that was the entire previous era, because even with KJ and Marquise Noel, it was, hey, we have 2 All-Americans. We win.
Yeah. So it's definitely a different gig here for Alexander, but yeah, it was very low-key announcement. They just put out a video like when a person showed up on camera, they would just put their name on as a caption. And we may never hear from them again until the season starts. We'll see.
Yeah. The only other piece of news that I have actually is another staff hire that I forgot to mention beforehand, so I apologize for that. But the football team has had to make a new defensive back hire because Marcus Woodson decided to go back home to Ole Miss. And regardless of my feelings about why someone would willingly go back to the state of Mississippi, yeah. But there is a new hire in place already for the defensive backs coach. So it isn't just, I'm blanking on his name. Is it Trey Scott?
Trey Scott's the GM.
Trey Scott's the GM. Oh, he was the guy at Louisiana Tech, Coastal Carolina.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Jeremiah Johnson, thank you. It won't just be him coaching the defensive backs. And I don't want to get the name wrong, so I will indeed be using my phone a friend here, because I think I know who it is. It's Marcel Yates. It's Marcel Yates, who, again, has quite the long list. I will say that his development track record is not as good as Marcus Woodson, so I would classify this as a downgrade, but I wouldn't say that there's like 5 tiers between Marcel Yates and Marcus Woodson, because Yates also has experience as a DC. Now, where his defense is good, no, it was the mid to late 2000s Arizona defenses that he was the DC of. So not the greatest company, but did manage to go upwards with DB's coach at Cal in 2020, the Oregon passing game coordinator in 2021, and then the Tech passing game coordinator and secondaries coach from 2022 to 2024. I believe in 2025 and a little bit of 26, he spent a little bit of time in the NFL, which they don't have listed on his coaching history, but I believe he spent time in the NFL, maybe as like an analyst or something like that.
Yeah, he has been all over the place. I think he spent a bit of time with the New Orleans Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember if it was like as a full-fledged coach or if it was just some sort of like temporary deal. But yeah, he has been around for quite a while. And yeah, like you said, he doesn't have as good of a resume as Marcus Woodson, but that is just what you're going to be dealing with when you have a guy that joins your staff and then departs, 3 months later, like, for good reasons or bad reasons, which I'm not privy to either way. But it's just going to be harder to find a willing candidate at that point in the cycle, because guys that haven't moved probably weren't willing to go in the first place. And then guys that were willing to move almost certainly already have another job at this point and have probably bought a house and are probably trying to put roots down, and are like, well, I don't want to move my family like twice in 3 months, like, which is reasonable, I think. So, but I think given those circumstances, Marcel Yates, I think, was a pretty good hire.
Yeah. And he does have 7 people drafted. Now, none of them are, I hate to play the comparison game, and I say this every time I play the comparison game, which might make people think it's not true, but it is. Yes, he's had 7 people drafted during his times. Most of them were in the top 3 rounds. However, he did not coach a former wide receiver who wasn't getting playing time into being a first-round draft pick, which to me, I think that should get you a statue. And that's what Marcus Woodson did at Auburn with Noah Igbenogany. But, I mean, this is another person who has DC experience, was at Boise State sort of in the middle of their BCS busting era, but then spent a little bit of time at A&M, back at Boise State, and then constantly switched roles between not the DC level, but what position he was coaching while at Arizona. He went from linebackers to corners to linebackers to safeties, so maybe you just couldn't find any consistency there. But, been around the country, mostly in the Mountain West region, Mountain West/Pacific region. So I'd be interested to see where his best recruiting chops are being, because everyone else kind of has their area. Corey Patterson and Thad Ward, both St. Louis, Chicago area, but mostly St. Louis. Colin Klein, definitely Colorado. Jordan Peterson, the Texas area. Jeremiah Johnson, a little bit of everywhere, but Mountain West region. And I think we might just be doubling down on Mountain West. So the Idaho down to New Mexico region, specifically Colorado, Arizona, that area. So, I'll be interested to see how this affects recruiting, because Woodson was he was the outlier because he was Mississippi, Louisiana.
Yeah, so hopefully that doesn't hurt us too much in the recruiting trail. Yates, he's a Los Angeles native, so that LA Mississippi pipeline would have been great to have. I know we had some great players from Louisiana and from Georgia back in the Bill Snyder days, and even into the Kleiman era a bit, particularly Georgia. But being able to pluck a player from Los Angeles maybe once a season, that would be pretty nice, because we've not really done a lot of recruiting past the Rockies for the most part in the Kleiman era. There's been a bit here and there, like Luis Rodriguez was at a JUCO in California. But for the most part, we've mostly stayed in the Mountain Time Zone and east of there. So I'm curious to see what sort of effect he has on that. I'm also curious to see if he's going to be someone that'll be here for multiple seasons. He wasn't the first pick, and he's moved around a lot. So can we even rely on more than one season from Marcel Yates, or is he going to kind of be a one-year stopgap and then we have a proper search next year?
It could be either. I will say that now you have me digging through my head of who is the biggest contributor that we had that was west of Colorado. We got a bunch of guys from Arizona, because we had the class, the 2 classes back to back, where it was Laura, Spivey, and then Davis. And I don't the only people that I remember from California are Rodriguez and Frias.
Yeah, from the Kleiman era for sure. Before Kleiman, DJ Reed went to a JUCO in California, and he's carved out a long NFL career. So that's a good one. If you really want to go for some deep cuts, we got a grad transfer from Cal in the mid-20 teens named Cedric Dozier, who was a former 4-star and was a backup corner, which for a Bill Snyder defense meant that you played in 10 games and got 50 snaps. So, and I think we also got another transfer from Cal at one point, a receiver who was 6'4" and really strong, and then was projected really well, Carlos Strickland. And I think he had 2 catches for 11 yards and transferred UTEP or something. So,
yeah. And then of course we have the legend of Eric Munoz.
That is true. Who could forget Eric?
You can't see it, but we both raised our hands. Anyway, welcome to the family, Marcel Yates. Now we can talk about the Batcats, which they had a 3-game series up against who we predicted would be the best team in the conference. I think that they and West Virginia are kind of in their own tier. If we won this series, we could have fought into that tier. We lost 2 of 3 at home, 2 of them in frustrating fashion. Well, the 2 losses were both in extremely frustrating fashion. And then the third win in the getaway game arguably made the first 2 games more frustrating. But the first game, K-State lost 5-4, and it really just was that 8th inning where Arizona State was able to separate, getting those 2 runs to pull ahead of K-State. And this was also just, it was not the greatest offensive performance from K-State, just generally. Only putting up 4 runs, especially in Toynton, where you have that wind going to left field. And someone asked me the other day, what makes Toynton such a hitter-friendly park? So forgive me for this little tirade. But for a right-handed hitter, there's nothing stopping the wind coming from the right field foul line, which means that that's going to push the ball out that way. And if you're a left-handed hitter, you can pull the ball even more because the wind is going to slightly blow it over the foul line. So you could pull the ball a little more, which is what you want to do if you want to hit for power. So that's what, even though the dimensions are somewhat standard, it really is the fact that nothing stops the wind from one direction, and it's always windy, that makes Toynton such a hitter-friendly park. But K-State does get 2 home runs from D. Kennedy and Caden Carl. I'll let you comment. Sorry, I had to figure that out there.
I was just going to say, even those northern winds actually can help batters as well if they're really strong, because you can have a routine fly out that gets into the jet stream if it goes high enough, and you will see, especially for K-State, so many should have been outs that turn into a like facepalm double, like with like multiple runs coming in, just because the wind will blow a ball and the other team isn't used to it. And we're like, yeah, we practice in this a lot, so like we like are better at adjusting to those fly balls. And that happened a couple of times in the last game on a Sunday. And I would have felt bad for Arizona State if they hadn't beaten us the last 2 days. But like, it was like a little hard to watch even as a K-State fan. So,
yeah. But this game, there were no multi-hit performances. The RBIs belonged to D. Kennedy on his home run, and then Carlos Vasquez as well as Caden Carl. Caden Carl came on the home run. We also got to see Nick English start in right field, who took an 0 for 3 and took home the sombrero with three strikeouts. So
I was about to say, isn't that a golden sombrero?
That's a golden sombrero.
Yeah, which really too bad for Nick, because he, up until this game, most of his plate appearances this season have been at least like good battles. But he like really just had a rough night in his opportunity to start, which is too bad. And yeah, this was a very, very frustrating loss for the Batcats. I really felt like we should have had this one. We got a good relief from Arthur and Feezer, and Guyette did enough, I think. But yeah, the 2 runs given up by Taz Butler just was absolutely backbreaking. And it's really too bad, because we were able to knock out Cole Carlin, who had been kind of shredding us for most of the early parts of the game, but we were able to get him out in 5 1/3, which most of the time you're happy with that, but he's going to probably be a first-round draft pick. So 5 1/3 and 3 runs, that's honestly better than I thought we'd get from him. But not being able to do anything after that is the unforgivable part. This was a game K-State absolutely should have won, and it's just monumentally frustrating that we weren't able to pluck this one away.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about the pitching, but I feel like the better time to talk about the pitching is the next game, um, because it's an overarching theme. So you ready to move on to the next game?
In a sense, yes.
Yeah, as ready as we can be, right? Yeah, the next game, K-State lost 18-12. You're like, wow, K-State must have gotten beaten to death. Not for most of the game, no. And then the ninth inning happened. We got 8 dropped on our heads. We were leading going into the ninth inning, 11-10, and then we got hit like Peter Griffin and that random kid in the Family Guy clip. What you did was wrong. Yeah, yeah, we got smacked in the ninth inning.
Yeah, and I think really like one of the worst parts of that whole ninth inning is if you run through this list here uh, for Arizona State and how they performed in this. A lot of their runs and even base runners were unearned or were free passes, I should say. Like their run that gave them the lead was a wild pitch. Then we put a runner on off the hit by pitch. Then they got 2 more bases, or they had runners on first and second and advance on a wild pitch again. Then we intentionally walked. Then we walked in a run. Then we walked in another run. And then at that point, it's 14-11. They have the bases loaded, and a mistake pitch gives them a grand slam, and the game's effectively over at that point. Like, yeah, we got 2 strikeouts after, but that's because they were just trying to hit home runs because they didn't care anymore. Like, so that mismanagement of the end of the game is horribly frustrating. And this was a bullpen that I actually like now mistakenly like gave some flowers last week for being better than I thought they would be. And then this happened. And this whole past 4-game stretch, man, like this team has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and what I will say is I don't want to make excuses for Rudy Darrow. However, being a pitching coach in college might be one of the worst jobs that you can have, because in high school you're dealing with high school kids. Like you don't really have to recruit high school kids. You know what you're going to get on any given day, and if you get awful talent, that's just where you live, and your expectations kind of go with where you live. We'll skip over college for a second, because then you can go to the pro leagues where, you know, you're getting most of the time a lot of very, very high ceiling talent, that didn't go to college because they wanted the opportunity to go pro. And then college just gets the leftovers. So you end up in a situation where there are not very many good pitching coaches in college baseball, because the good college pitching coaches immediately get hired to be minor league pitching coaches at any of the like 7 minor league affiliates that each of the 30 MLB teams have. So you're already dealing with a very, very slim picking. And then you have a very, very slim talent pool, because there's like still 20 to 30 rounds in the MLB draft, where anyone who can throw a fastball faster than 94 miles per hour is getting drafted, regardless of where they are, because of how analytics are work and how they are used by MLB front offices. So you end up in a situation where if you're a college pitching coach, you are probably fine at your job, and that's it. Like, you don't have the talent to be amazing unless you're at like a top 5 program. But even then, a lot of the top 5 programs still rely on defense. With that said, there are ways to recruit and ways to teach pitching that I think Rudy Darrow has sort of missed out on, because I don't want to advocate for the entire staff being gimmick pitchers. However, we should probably recruit guys that have a hand grenade motion, basically. So they're just throwing it straight over the top, because that creates a different spin. It's a different arm angle. And it's one that, because the ball dives a little more, or at least it looks like it should. So if you have, rise on your pitch, it gets even more confusing. But from that angle, you're more likely to generate ground balls just because of, how a batter's eyes work. So, and it works the other way if you have someone throwing very low to the ground, like a submarine pitcher, which, good luck, no one teaches their kids to do that anymore because analytics stole everything that we love. But I just talked for a long time. Do you have any thoughts about what I said, or do you have your own thoughts? Because this is now a conversation about Rudy Darrow before we move on to the last game where, yeah, we won, but we're not really happy about it.
I think one of the frustrating things about Rudy Darrow is we have seen a few Rudy Darrow reclamation projects kind of work out. Like James Guyette was unusable when he first got here, and has turned into an admittedly inconsistent and erratic, but nevertheless still a Friday night starter for K-State with a changed arm angle. And we've gone out and gotten some wacky arm angle guys as well. Like Adam Arthur, who has really stepped it up these last couple of weeks. Then Cole Weisenbaker, who just, again, has not been able to figure it out this year. And really at this point, I think we just need to shut him down for a few weekends at the very least and give him some more rehab time, because it is not working and he's getting blown up every time he is out there. And it's beyond it being bad for the team. It's genuinely not fair for his development to keep doing this to him. So we need to stop using him and just put the corpse of Carson Liggett out there instead, because apparently he is injured still. And we badly need relievers that can throw strikes, but not mistakes on purpose. And so if we seem to be kind of lacking that right now, and we've had a few guys that work intermittent. Aaron Arnold has been a solid midweek guy, but I don't think his stuff takes him beyond being a midweek reliever for a max of 3 innings, just because he's a primarily fastball pitcher that mostly works on location, and his breaking ball only works if they're swinging no matter what and they're expecting a fastball. And then Flores has been okay. His weekend relief hasn't been great, but he's had a couple of solid midweek appearances. But yeah, even though I completely agree, it's very hard to be a college pitcher, especially to place like K-State. It is certainly not impossible, and I think we could be doing better than what we're doing right now. And I think part of it also comes into decision making as well, and it can be ultimately we don't know the pitch calls, but you have to think if relievers are pretty consistently getting blown up for multiple games at a time over multiple seasons, there's probably something up with our pitch sequencing, or there's probably something up on our scouts, which I doubt the scouts part, because this is, I think, a staff that is very thorough in their scouting of opponents. It's one of their probably best advantages is their thoroughness with their scouts. But yeah, the pitching arm talent has not really been there, with a handful of exceptions, and it's just not working right now. I was really hoping this year would be a bit different. We had some solid outings to start the year, but things are kind of drifting into the same old right now. And if we want to get to the next levels of program, that's just not acceptable, because this is a really, really K-State offense. It's probably going to end up going down as one of the best that we've ever had. But we lost games this last week where we scored 12 runs and 9 runs, and that's not acceptable. So we need to have some sort of come to Jesus or whoever your maker is meeting with the entire bullpen and the starters as well to a certain degree, except for Tanner Duke and Lincoln Sheffield, who both threw complete games and run rules these past 2 weeks. Although Duke had a bad outing on Saturday, but literally everybody did. So
yeah, he's not alone in that. He's fine.
Yeah. So, but somehow a K-State pitcher didn't have the worst outing of that whole series. It was Arizona State's starter on Sunday. They just left him out to dry. He gave up 11 runs, and they really didn't care. And I felt a little bad for him, but it was obvious that they were just kind of throwing once we started hitting the ball. Like they just gave up and said, let's get out of here because we have a game tomorrow.
Yeah, you're going to get that in some getaway games where you already have the series secured because it's probably not going to matter too much for them. The last game, congratulations, we beat up on Arizona State as like revenge. We beat them 12-1. Weirdly enough, no home runs. Had a bunch of doubles and then just sort of small ball from there. Taro Inoue had 3 for 4 with 2 RBI, 2 runs of his own. Ty Smolinski, 3 for 4 with 2 RBI. Same story with Carlos Vasquez, and then Grant Gallagher went 2 for 3 with 2 RBI as well. So, good performance for the last day. I don't want to talk down to it, but really? We had to wait we run ruled them on the last day after getting pants the day previously in 1 inning and then losing a heartbreaker on Friday. It's just a little frustrating, and I think it compounds with the Nebraska game, which it is a ranked Nebraska team, unfortunately, but no one had a good pitching day in the Nebraska game. But Lincoln Sheffield did throw a complete game, as Connor said, complete game, 1-hitter on the Sunday game. But yeah, Nebraska game, the most notable thing that happened is Nick English got another at-bat where he drew a walk, and that's not the most notable thing that happened. It's the beer bats. Can you tell us a little bit about the beer bats, Connor?
They are a clear plastic, kind of a not a mat. It's I don't know exactly how to describe the feeling of the plastic, but it's smooth, but also has some roughness to it as well. But you can glide your fingers over it easy. It holds roughly 16 ounces. I think a little more than 16 ounces, probably 18, maybe 18 or 20. And it says Wildcats in the script on the top. And the liquid came out of it just fine when you drank it. So
all that made me think of is, this is a deep cut, is the Fallout 76 Nuka-Cola dark bottle, where it was literally just a plastic shell surrounding a really cheap bourbon brand, and someone tried pouring it out, and it literally spilled all of the bourbon into the plastic shell and completely ruined it. So I'm glad that you could actually, drink from your plastic Batcat branded bat.
Yes, it was nice, and at the package you got a free drink voucher. I got 2 of them, and then a nice lady that was 2 rows behind us saw us with the beer bats, and I guess she had 2 vouchers that she wasn't going to use, and she gave them to me and Sarah. So we got 2 drinks instead of 1.
Thank you, random kind lady.
That's what I said too. I didn't say the last part. I just said the parts before the
you. But no one had a good pitching day. Cone Feeser started, gave up 2 earned runs. Robert Fortenberry came in and again spited me by going 2/3, giving up 2 walks, 3 earned runs. Aaron Arnold went 2 innings, 3 runs. Billy Ike, 3 runs in an inning. Adam Arthur, arguably had the best. That's Aiden Longoria, but Adam Arthur, 2 earned runs in 2 innings, and then Aiden Longoria didn't give up when he earned runs, only 1 hit, 1 in the 3rd inning. So, Aiden had a good day. The offense, I guess, didn't have a bad day either. They did score 9 runs, but again, it's just the pitching. and it's always going to be the pitching unless you were early 2000. Okay, 90s to early 2000s, Wichita State and Virginia. Those are like the only consistently good pitching programs that I can immediately think of. I'm sure there are others. I'm sure that there are some schools that are perennially like top 15 ERA in the NCAA type of programs. I think ERA is a flawed measurement. I'm sure Vanderbilt is up there, not because their pitching is great, but because their defense is always like top 5 in the country. And ERA is, oh God. Okay, analytics. I sound like I was dumping on analytics earlier, but I'm a big believer in fielding independent pitching, or FIP, as a much better indicator of pitching quality as opposed to ERA, because ERA doesn't account for defense. FIP completely tries to nullify defense, so you're getting truly what the pitcher does. K-State's FIP numbers aren't good either, so don't worry about that. It's that's sort of my rant for the day. But the point is, it's always going to be pitching because of the factors that we mentioned earlier, unless we strike lightning in a bottle. And I guess I don't know what Rusty Kuntz is doing nowadays, but if he wants to come back to the state of Kansas after he retired from being a really good pitching coach for the Royals in the mid-2010s, I don't think we're getting a whole lot better. Unless we're going to hire like a JUCO guy. I mean, that's kind of what you and I advocated for the first time, but didn't happen. Not mad about it. Probably would have been the same result, but
yeah, this one really sucked because I always hate losing to Nebraska because I hate Nebraska, and so this one always stings a bit extra, especially with it being at home and with it being so preventable. But yeah, I would agree. Like, of the pitchers that pitched while the game still mattered, like, I think Adam Arthur probably did the best. His really only flaw was one mistake pitch to give up a 2-run homer. But otherwise, he was, I thought, by far the most effective. Like, Aaron Arnold, I guess, was good for a while, but he just got left in a little too long. But Feezer was, outside of the first inning, I thought he had a really good second inning, and I thought we pulled him a bit early, but we did just pitch him that weekend, so I get it. But Robert Fortenberry started the year hot, but man, he has really struggled recently. It's 3 straight just blow up outings for him. Billy Ike has been a disappointment as well. He was very poor in this game. And yeah, Aiden Longoria was out there just gassing fastballs past Nebraska batters that were swinging with their eyes closed, basically, trying to pull one. So yeah, the pitching was awful in this game. There's really no way around it. Everyone gave up an earned run except the guy that was going up against Make-A-Wish batters, and it's just really frustrating to have this be the cherry on top of what was a frustrating weekend. So look, the only bright side to this is because all the teams that we've lost to have been high in the RPI, it's not hurting us that much in terms of postseason eligibility, but it is really making us reevaluate the expectations for this team, and that sucks because this is a team I was really hoping was going to be good enough to make a push for the Big 12 title, and that's just not going to be the case at this point. The pitching is not good enough, and it's probably not going to be good enough unless we make some serious changes and Carson Liggett gets healthy. But on Carson Liggett, we don't know. And on serious changes being made during the season, unlikely. But yeah, I guess the one other thing I'll say is Aiden Carl probably deserves a shout out for in the last kind of couple of weeks breaking his way into the lineup, and after the last couple of years in live game action, didn't really show a lot at the plate. This year he's actually done really well at the plate, especially these last couple weeks. and he's kind of turned a corner as a player. And he's kind of yet another example of the staff really being able to develop someone if they buy in. So shout out to Caden Carl for doing well. And he's a plus defender and center as well, with a much stronger arm than I'd given him credit for. So he's someone I bet's going to be in center probably the rest of the season.
Yeah. Also, I fell down a rabbit hole while you were talking because I was curious about which programs are actually like consistently good at pitching.
Auburn, I think, is one.
Auburn is second in the country right now, and they pretty consistently have an ERA under 3. The leader this year, you have your top two. USC is number 1, but they have a 2.22 ERA, which is disgusting.
Man, that would really be nice. If we could have something, if we could have double that, I'd be happy, honestly.
Yeah.
Like a 4.44, I would be happy with that, honestly, because I'm pretty sure we're in the 5s.
Yeah, I'll look through the top ones here because it's kind of names that you expect. Texas is always up there just because Texas baseball. North Carolina is always up there just because of their coaching. Oregon State. The ones that are like surprising are Cal State Fullerton. It's like low. They're always like mid 3s to low 4s because the only thing that they are known for is developing pitchers at a rate that is just straight up better than everyone else. So, take that for what you will.
California schools, man. It's just unfair how much talent they have out there.
Yeah, and Connor, do you want to take a guess at what K-State's ERA is right now?
Well, I looked at it while you were talking, so it would kind of break the immersion if I guessed because I'd get it right.
Yeah, it's 5.28, which is 112th in the country. Don't worry, we're not the worst in the state. That's KU, who almost has an ERA of 6.
That's really surprising to me because KU's like strength outside of having a couple of JUCO guys that hit bombs was supposed to be their pitching. So that's really surprising to me that their ERA is ballooned that much. Although I have seen that their starter who was kind of excellent, Dominic Vogel, he's got like a 10 ERA right now or something like that. So, which isn't good.
You know what? At least we're not the worst in the country. Oh God!
Share with me who the worst D1 ERA is right now.
The worst D1 ERA belongs to. It looks like. I think they cut it off at 300 because I know it's not Lafayette, who's the last one that they have listed at 10.46. I think it's Delaware, who had like 17.56 ERA.
Really? Where did you see that?
That's on where did I see Delaware's?
Yeah.
I thought it was on the NCAA's website, but I could be wrong. Or maybe it was on a D1 baseball.
I haven't been looking, so I'm more exclaiming. I'm not doubting your
So looking at D1 baseball, give it a second for its leaderboards to load. By the way, the one with the highest ERA that people have probably heard of because they have a D1 baseball program is Ohio, who has like an ERA of 9. Yeah, which that's bad too. Yeah, no, Delaware State has an ERA of 13.65.
Okay, Delaware State. I was about to say Delaware has like a 4.82, which is like better than us. So like, what can we say to Delaware?
Yeah, no, Delaware State, who is 1-19 this year, has a 13.65 ERA. Our good friends Mississippi Valley State is bottom 5, has a 10.9 ERA.
Is Mississippi Valley State good at anything? That is the question.
I don't think so.
But, that 11.77 for Delaware State in 2025. That's 25. Let's check 26. Yeah, they went 7-34 last year. Now they're even worse.
How did they manage that?
That's got to really stink for the guys that stuck around because after the year that their coach was like this is as bad as it's going to get, fellas. Like if you stick around, we're going to build this thing from the ground up. You're going to be the foundation. And now they suck even more. And that's kind of got to be demoralizing. This staff, 13.59 is what Delaware State has on their official website. Like their lowest ERA guy on their staff has a 7.36. And the crazy thing is he hasn't given up a home run in 22 innings. That's 25 hits, 17 walks, 24 runs, 18 earned.
This poor guy.
7 hit by pitch, that's not helping. And he's just giving up a lot of bloop singles, I think. Just 5 doubles and 1 triple, but 25 hits.
This is why we need FIP. He is another reason why fielding independent pitching is a better metric. Save this man, please.
I think this guy here, what's his name? Jeremy Vest. I think he's probably being foiled right now by the exploits of a crappy infield, is what it seems like to me. I think his shortstop is picking dandelions in shallow center instead of trying to turn 2.
All right. The substantive part of the episode has been done for a minute. The next games are all in Utah. Weekend series up against the University of Utah, and then a Tuesday series up against BYU. I will crash out if we do not win the majority of those games.
We need to win at least 3 of the 4. If we go 500 out in Utah, I'm gonna frown pretty hard about that. So you consider the consequences.
Yeah, I will say that Arizona State is probably the best team in the conference. That doesn't excuse the fact that we should have beat them at least twice.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that makes that Friday game so frustrating because that is a game that we should have won, but we did not. And we should have won the Saturday game too. Below average pitching wins Saturday. Because below average to me, you're looking at 7, 8, 9 runs. That's pretty bad, but we scored 12. We should never lose a game where we scored 12. The Nebraska game, honestly, the bats just weren't there, and it was a horrible pitching performance altogether. The bats were kind of there, but weird stat, Nebraska balked in 2 of our runs, which I have never seen that happen twice in a game. So outside Little League, but we need to figure it out, which I've said it before, the only sport where figure it out is an acceptable coaching mentality to instill with your players is baseball.
There's nothing really else that you can say.
Sometimes you really do just got to figure it out in baseball. If you're pitching like crap, if you're not hitting the ball, figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's best to just kind of leave it at that. Do you have anything else to note?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, if that's the case, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggieVilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at ACEdwards00.
I am at Connor Baltzor, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store. Link found in our podcast and Twitter bio. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. For come rain, shine, or anything between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.